Former Tennessee Titan back with you again here with Emma Nelson, the dietitian for TOA. And I'm going to start it off with kind of what I did as a player, as far as my nutrition part of it. And I was kind of a different stage as a player. I was someone who had to gain weight to play the position. I was a cornerback in college, and then when I got to the pros, I was, based off of injuries to other players, eventually moved to safety. So I had to put on like 20 pounds, and I wanted to do it in a gradual manner and not just protein shaking it up at that time, in that era of time, and make sure I was doing it the proper way with doing a lot of proteins, whether it was steak, a lot of beef, and everything else, to also trying to get carbs and electrolytes at the same time. So I kind of just ate just like that, being a more smaller guy. I'm always interested in some of my teammates who were the bigger guys that felt like they just were eating machines and just ate all the time, especially the guys 6'5", 300 and some pounds. I can't imagine what their whole process was like as far as their nutrition plan to be successful. But that was kind of my plan. I did a lot of protein shakes. At that time it was a protein shake. I don't know if I'm supposed to say the name was EAS. I don't even know if it exists today, but it was a protein shake that I used. It had all the ingredients that I used, and really leaned into my trainer to help me through the process, as well as my wife, who was doing all the cooking, who was in as a team together with that. So with that being said, I want to bring in Emma Nelson here, the dietitian for TOA, and kind of take us through, if someone's trying to gain weight, whether you're a bodybuilder, let's say go to extreme, to an athlete, to also a high school, player, and probably not as much as when you're smaller, but kind of, are those plans somewhat similar? Are they different? Kind of take us through what you should be doing that you have to do in all those plans, but maybe each one has their own different caveat of how you get to accomplish what you want to at those ages.
Absolutely. I think it's very individualized based on the sport, the age of the individual, and performance goals specific to that person. So for you in football, also strength and power is going to be a factor of this. So body composition is relevant whenever you're trying to pack on weight. It's not just gaining weight, but you also want to gain muscle. You can eat all day and not exercise and gain weight, but you're not going to gain the kind of weight that you want. So focusing on protein, like you said you did, is actually exactly what I would recommend to make sure that you are gaining muscle mass. Carbohydrates and fat are still going to be obviously a factor in any balanced diet, but protein is going to be a really big focus in getting enough muscle mass and being able to effectively recover. Another thing to consider is the quality and the types of foods that you're eating. I mean, you can eat excess white bread and be in a calorie surplus, right, and gain a bunch of weight. But is that going to be the most nutritious and nutrient dense way to do it? I mean, you might risk run the risk of injuring yourself if you're not making sure you're still getting a variety of fruits and vegetables, and and focusing on the quality of your food as well.
How would that be different, like for, let's say, that 300-pound guy? Now they're 340 and they're just super athletic, and everybody's like, oh man, that guy's out of shape, he's big, he's fat, he's like, and these guys, then you go see him 360 dunk, go, oh yeah, well, he was a pretty good athlete. So how does a player like that, what does a diet look like? I don't know if you've ever done one, or a plan of eating on a daily basis. What do you think that looks like? Because I have no clue.
So you're asking to maintain that weight and size? Yeah.
Because some of them were that big, but then, they still had to maybe put on 20 pounds, which is probably real easy for a guy that big. But man, I just can't imagine even growing up with parents who have, big kids who are athletes that are the 6'5", 50, 60 pounds, in high school. Like, they're not, mom, they're going to the grocery store every day.
Imagine that grocery bill.
Oh my gosh, man. I don't want to imagine that. That'd be like $300 a day.
Absolutely. It's like a second job to make sure you're eating. And these athletes that are maintaining these types of body sizes, 300 plus pounds, eating becomes a job. You have to really eat around the clock, and there's no chance and no opportunity for meal skipping if you want to maintain
Like when
your
I'm
weight.
thinking about, hey, here's a bowl of fruit, and they look at me like, I'm not eating. I'm gonna eat all this, but what's the real food?
Oh, what are they eating?
Right, yeah, what are they actually eating? Like, that's what I'm saying, because I
Yeah.
think most guys, they're, the macho guys like, oh, I'm gonna eat a bowl of fruit, but where's the real food?
Yeah, well, fruit actually is fairly low calories, so
So they're not eating fruit.
probably eating a lot of meat. They're probably eating a lot of kind of animal-based foods to make sure that they're getting enough calories in. Those are going to be foods that are pretty calorie dense. A lot of they're going to be eating foods that are high in fat as well, because fat is a macronutrient that is very dense. So, I mean, if you think of a tablespoon of olive oil is 120 calories, so think about how small that volume is for how many calories you get. So that's where these kinds of considerations become more important. They may be eating fruit too, but in order to make sure they're getting enough calories in, they're focusing on calorie-rich foods for sure.
Okay, so
Yeah.
big baked potatoes with a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Toppings.
Oh
Yeah.
my. Okay. A lot of pastas too. Spaghetti.
I would say so. Spaghetti, pastas, potatoes are going to be a big one. It also really just depends on the preferences of the athlete. I've had athletes that they're cool with repeating meals and kind of being on a regimen because they know what they're getting. But I also have athletes that they get burnt out or they get sick of it. So we have to kind of sprinkle some variety in there. Yeah.
Would you recommend olive oil? You just said that, right? Yeah. Would you just is that like a tablespoon?
Yeah, so olive oil is actually an antioxidant food, kind of like we were talking about. So helps with inflammation, but it's great for cooking. It's great for flavoring your food. You can use it in a salad dressing, or just cook your meat with it, roast your vegetables with it. Vegetables can kind of be a vehicle for fat and making sure you get enough fat in the diet and adding calories to your meals. So spray that olive oil or pour that olive oil out and make sure you're getting enough calories. It's a great way. Yeah.
What I was used to do, I also use turmeric. Kind of take us through what the pros and cons, or if there are any, when I was a player, and I still do it today on my food when I'm cooking it, let alone afterwards when I'm about to eat it. So kind of tell us, is that good or bad?
Good. Turmeric, the spice. Yes. So this is the really orangey, yellowy spice. The antioxidant compound in it is curcumin, and it's anti-inflammatory. So it really just depends on the amounts you're able to do too. It's almost like
My wife makes me do our stuff separate because I want it on there, and she says,
Really?
no, I don't want that. I put some other stuff on there too.
To me, it doesn't taste that strong.
No, it doesn't.
It's kind of, so it might as well add it to your food. It doesn't hurt. It can only help, right? And there are also people who will supplement with turmeric. So whether you want to sprinkle it on your food or supplement, you might be able to kind of boost that antioxidant profile. Yeah.
A couple other little secrets here from Blaine on some of the things when I prepare my food. I use ginger as well as cayenne pepper. Take us through what you think of that.
I think that sounds great.
But why is that good though? What does it do for my body?
So
I may think it is too, but obviously I'm using it. I don't know if I'm really doing it.
Yeah, ginger is going to be another antioxidant food. So whenever we're adding herbs and spices to our meals, that can help to boost the antioxidant profile. So anytime that you can do that, I think people neglect herbs and spices and just add salt and pepper, but really herbs and spices can really add one flavor to nutrients. So I think that's a great idea.
All right, for our listeners, kind of take us through what is antioxidants. When you say that, the normal listener may not know what that really means, especially like me.
Yes. So antioxidants are compounds found primarily in plant foods that help reduce free radicals in the body and help to lower inflammation. So it helps to get rid of that kind of bad stuff in the body and helps for recovery and muscle, soft tissue repair, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So let's then pivot to recovery when you're rehabbing. So when you're rehabbing and you're out here, whether it's your knee, shoulder, back, whatever surgery you've had, it could be even your finger like mine. Yeah, I'll rehab that, and it's not
Ooh.
fixed yet. So that's why I'm taking anti-inflammatories. So kind of take us through like what kind of I guess let's say I'll never want to give the term diet. I want to say life preferences on how you should be eating. What would you say you should be doing when you're trying to stimulate recovery faster from an actual surgery when you're going through rehab?
Yes, good question. I think a big fear, first off, for a lot of athletes that I've worked with after surgery, they're of this mindset that, especially if it's an injury that's caused them to be immobile, they're like, oh, well, I'm not able to exercise or train, and I'm sitting around, so I need to cut my calories back down. But actually, that's kind of a misconception that you need less calories. You might need a little bit less overall, depending how active you were, but your body still needs plenty of energy to heal and recover quickly. So it's not the time for a calorie deficit. It's not the time for cutting or weight loss or anything like that. It's the time for making sure you're getting enough fuel. Focusing on these antioxidant-rich foods, like we were just talking about, is going to help speed up the recovery process. Protein is going to help with soft tissue injury repair. Based on the individual, I don't always like to recommend blanket supplements across the board. It's very individualized based on what an individual athlete might need for supplementation. They may need a vitamin kind of supplement, or protein supplements are a big one that a lot of athletes use. Collagen supplements are going to help soft tissues. And actually vitamin C can help the absorption of that. So I've also, seen this in a case study as well, with collagen and vitamin C paired together to help expedite the recovery process. So that's a great one. Obviously hydration is big. Those are kind of the heavy hitters for recovery.
Collagen, now that is something you just brought up. Kind of take us through what collagen is and it really can help everyday people, or would you even recommend you taking it on an everyday basis, even if you're not recovering or rehab?
Yeah, I'm hesitant to say yes, do that, because like I said, everything is individualized, and some athletes may not want to do supplements. Some athletes might want to just try to go for food first, that kind of approach. But collagen is a substance that we actually make in our own body. It was super popular. It started becoming popular, I don't know, 5-10 years ago for hair, skin, and nails in women, but it's actually beneficial for soft tissues as well. After we're 25 years old, we stop producing as much collagen ourselves, so it can be really helpful. And it can be found in like bones and cartilage and that sort of thing from animal products. So kind of like gelatin is another form of it. I have worked with athletes where we would just supplement a gelatin powder, which is very cost effective. It's a couple dollars at the grocery store. It's literally what you use to make Jell-O. Put it in your water, shake it up, and take a vitamin C capsule, and you're good to go. And that helps. So yeah, it can definitely be helpful for the recovery process. Whether an athlete wants to continue that for prevention, that might be something to think of if they're injury prone. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why I was asking that, because I take collagen still today. But like when I was rehabbing, is there anything, I always wanted a magic pill, anything would help me heal faster? I mean, like I don't, I've always had shoulder injuries, knee scopes, and I always wanted to speed up the process, and not only speed it up, but I wanted to come up back bigger, stronger, and faster than I was, the time before. I wanted to rebuild myself, like $6 million man. But yeah, I wasn't that. So obviously, so I was just trying to figure out what would some of the things that you would recommend, or you've sat down and talked with people about that. Is there something that could at least make you feel that you're going in the right direction?
Yeah, kind of the things that I just touched on would be the primary ones.
Vitamin
but
D.
for vitamin D could definitely help. Obviously, that's going to also be an individualized, athlete-specific need. If they're already, if they have plenty of vitamin D, if they're out in the sun, but vitamin D deficiency is very common. It's like 40% of the population is deficient. So obviously their labs would be something to consider. This is also a time where, during this recovery process, the individual time with the dietitian, the one-to-one, is going to be very critical, in my opinion, not to not to put a plug in for myself, but just to say that the athlete needs an individualized plan. So if there are any nutrient deficiencies going on, that can inhibit recovery. So we want to make sure we're supplementing with the correct vitamins for that individual athlete, and then topping off with any additional supplements. There's another, factor of supplementation that you also have to just kind of be careful of, is like making sure that you're supplementing with things that are allowed in whatever league they're
Right, of
playing
course.
for, and so that's another factor of why it's important to meet with a dietitian, because some athletes, they might buy something at GNC or whatever supplement store, and they think because they purchased it at a legit store, it's safe and effective, but it may or may not be. So having a dietitian to verify that and help them with that is important.
There you have it. From Emma Nelson, TOA dietitian.